YouTube gone now? Is that YouTube? It is YouTube. And we are live. But we're not live. Because I've done it again. I've done it every time. Just give me 2 seconds. I don't know why. I don't know why it automatically comes up as unlisted. Anyone, details, unlisted, public. Yes, I do want everyone to be able to see it. Right. How are we looking for visuals? I've gone for the old famous Cranog again. I did actually want to start speaking about Cranogs like last time, but TikTok had other ideas, as it always does. Let me just 1 second. And I really should go live on TikTok, but whenever I go live on TikTok, it goes mental. It always goes crazy. Right, let's do it. Let's go crazy. Let's embrace the chaos and see what happens with the TikTok live. Maybe we can hold off. Do I do a hold off just for a couple of seconds? Break myself in gently with that mayhem over on that side. I did think about going on to Kick as well. I haven't seen many education. That's me. I hadn't seen many sort of education pages on Kick, but I'm thinking of maybe we could be the primary one to start that, and we could maybe start a whole new movement of education on Kick. I did set it up so that there is a Kick. If any of you are on Kick, there is a Kick profile for Clans&Dynasties, but I don't know what their partner payment is, as in like how many viewers you need to have, subscribers you need to have to monetize it. I'm not overly bothered about monetizing everything, but it's just some things I need to work out before I get involved in it. But it's all set up there anyway. Like, say if any of you are into gaming or anything like that you would be on Kick, there's a channel there and it'll eventually be set up there. I don't know, maybe their ads are a bit better than YouTube's, a little bit more infrequent, if so. And again, it's whenever I start to when I'm like on Monday with the members only lives, I don't know if there's a way. I know you can obviously subscribe to channels on Kick, but I don't know if you can do members only lives. If any of you actually know anything about the Kick, the streaming platform, let me know. All right, I'm gonna risk it. We're gonna risk it for a biscuit. We're going to go live on the old TikTok, and we'll see what happens from there. So if anyone on YouTube, any of you guys want a question before we go across there, because you'll probably get drowned out, I'll try and answer it beforehand. And we can. How you doing, Fionn? Buchanan. You want Buchanan? Well, I can tell you about. Are we doing Scottish names again? Although I suppose there is. There's bound to be an Irish branch of that. Oh, yeah, so you want me to do Scottish again? Is that the hope that we do a Scottish surname thing for the evening? I don't know if we would do it for the evening, but we could definitely we just sneak it in now for a wee while, do a wee bit of Scottish, and then ignore TikTok. Can we just forget all about them and have deniability just say I thought it was live, guys. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why it didn't show up. Didn't I do that to YouTube the other day? Sorry, I'm too busy. It is up to the YouTuber after all. This is true. So yeah, I don't have a Scottish map in hand, but yeah, they're a Highland clan anyway. From Loch Lomond. So yeah, and I believe they were Earls of. Oh, just dropped a battery. Earls of Lennox. So that's a nice wee tidbit there. Are you more popular on TikTok than YouTube? So I have more subscribers on YouTube, but on YouTube my lives would get maybe 300 views, whereas my lives would get like on TikTok would get sort of 30,000 views. I'd have maybe 1,000 people in the live on TikTok at one time, whereas the most I have at one time on YouTube is sort of about 20. It's normally, well, it normally sits about 14, 15. How you doing, Wayne? It's good to see you again. Yeah, so I'd have like 14 on consecutive. There would always be at least 14 in the live on YouTube, but there'd be anywhere between 600 and 1,000 at one time on TikTok. So, but like I said, I've only got like 5,000 subscribers on TikTok. So, but I have a lot more members on TikTok too who pay for the memberships, for the membership only lives. So, you know, it's one of those, you don't get as much money from TikTok. That it really is pennies. Whereas any sort of gifts that are donated through YouTube and any of the subscription memberships, I see a little bit more of the money. But like I say, I'm not that overly nearly got demonetized. I wonder if I hit that from YouTube's algorithm. Not really that bothered by the whole money thing. It'd be nice to earn enough to turn this into some sort of job and actually have a bit more time. But yeah, it's a long way off, I think, at the minute. You know, there's a lot of hoops to go around before we can get to that. I'm glad to see you survived the typhoon. Was it typhoon? The Australian weather. I'm glad Australia hasn't killed you. Is basically what I'm saying, Arwin, because that's what it seems to be. That's what it seems to be wanting to do. Sorry, I just seen it. Julie. So Clunan. The only Clunans I know are primarily in Armagh. So in Ulster, so up here, boop. There could be other branches, but they're the only one. The Clunan seems to be a name I know of from Armagh. A cyclone, Australia tries, right? Yeah, yeah. You're a braver man than me. I have family out there, and I'm never going to visit them because let's just say there's too many snakes for my liking, and I'm not suicidal. It's basically where I'm going with that. Right. So right, I'm setting this up for. We're gonna set this up. We're gonna set this up for TikTok. Where did I see a name here? I did see a name. Are you popular? No. Yes, please. Clunan, YouTube. Vance. Vance. Yes, an Irish and Scottish name. It's traditionally found like lowland areas of Scotland. I think like on the borders, like Scotland and England. Let me just check one thing. But it's also it was anglicised from I think it's Macavard, Mac Anvard, Macanverd, Macanverd, and it's like a son of a bard in Ireland. Right, we're doing it, chat. We're doing it. We're going live. We're risking it for a biscuit. Risking it for a biscuit. This could all go very, very quickly go downhill. Thank you. I had family in Dublin and Munster. Yeah, again, I'm not aware of a Munster branch. I tell you what. But should we cheat today? Because, like I say, sometimes there are multiple. I do have notes that I keep on my computer of a lot of names that I research through most nights. So if we go into my files here, see if there's anything at all. Yeah, I know it's nope, I don't have anything. Just there's links to Galway as well. There's links to Galway, but yeah, I like I say that the only one sort of the clues I know is from Armagh. Coming in shouting Ulster Cycle. Ulster Cycle what? I mean, yeah, it's a great read. I read it to my kids. And you know, but I need a bit more more information than just Ulster Cycle. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure all my files are in order. So if anyone's got a question that's sort of outside of my expertise, I can have it to hand, and we can, we can go from there. Right. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, the Barry family. We've done the Barrys most nights. Actually, it seems to be a lot of Barrys coming into these chats. There's two main lines. They are the O'Bera clan in Cork, whose lands were taken over by the De Barrys from Wales, and so it's very hard for a lot of people to distinguish which line they descend from. It's just one of those things that it's very hard for people to know what line they descend from in medieval times. To now, especially when you have families moving in from outside areas into that area with a similar name. Did I see there earlier? I think one of the first people to ask there was I did actually see. You've got the Farrells. There's a couple of branches of Farrells. There's the Longford family of Farrells, and then there's the South Ulster family of O'Farrells. They're the main branches, but the O'Farrells of Longford are definitely the more prominent and well documented family. But they were lords of Annally, so that's how we are down here. Hang on. Family names related to this. So the Ulster Cycle is actually based on. Let me go shut this door behind me. 2 seconds. So the Ulster Cycle is way before surnames ever came into existence in Ireland. Patronymic surnames are Finn McCool. That's what it would be, that patronymic Mac. But it wouldn't transcend beyond the next generation. Now there were probably king groups. We have a lot of the older king groups, like the Cork League there in Cork, and the Connacht and Connacht. That were sort of, but even they're quite modern in the terms of the tribes that were on them. The Ulster cycles tends to be like an amalgamation of a lot of history from all the way from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age through to the Iron Age. So there's not really, the Darina from down here. There's not really a king group you can attribute to, I think. But I am researching that. I'm trying to find if there's any sort of tidbits that king groups, no kin, like your breath and kin, like your blood, your family, your wider family. Technically there'd be king groups. McDonald's, so McDonald's came across with the Gallowglass. They owned land, were constables in Leinster, but they also took over this part of Derry in the 15th century, and owned this part of Antrim for around the castle of the Luce. So they spread around, and also some O'Donnells kind of translated their name to MacDonald during the multiple reasons for that. You're McCarthy here, there you go, from Neonoctor Cashel, down here in Cork, in Cashel. And then obviously the McCarthys would, under Cormac McCarthy in mid 13th century, obviously started his aggressive expansion into the likes of Kerry, and his rivalry, reignited the rivalry with the O'Briens. If you enjoyed the McLaughlin video, if you revisit two sets of Connacht that were Bruin, McLaughlin of Leitrim, chiefs fighting force of the O'Rourke's, kings of Breffna, and McLaughlin's was common prior to his surname. First 5 kings of Moyler before splitting off from the McDermotts. So there's quite a lot of variations in McLaughlin and reasons for why their surnames are here. Sorry, someone just put something in chat and it threw me off. Let's keep politics out of it. In my CK3 game, I united Scotland and Ireland under the E-Bruins. I mean, why not? Why not? Which cadet branch of them? Because we have obviously like the O'Rourke's who claim descent from them. Whether they're truly descendants of them is up for debate. Whether they're truly related, because massage in the old genealogies was quite prevalent in medieval Ireland for a lot of families, for political reasons, and also to make sure that they weren't getting harassed from other political groups. Cummings, that's probably, there's a lot of families that changed their surname to Cummins, like the Commons of Scotland, the O'Cumins. Hurley is another translation that was comes from the O'Quayman. There's a lot of Cummings and a lot of different branches from that. It'd be one of the very hard names to sort of pin down, because you obviously have the Cummins who came across and settled in Scotland with the Normans and became the famous rivals of the Bruces. These are some of the things to sort of bear in mind whenever you're researching anything like that. you know, whether which line you maybe descend from. Excuse me. Cain. There's so many Cains. There's so many. The one I would know. So you've Cork families. You've got Ulster families from up here near Derry. Um, you know, there's literally every province has a Cain because it comes from multiple O'Cahan. There's just so many different variations of that name. But they were all translated to Cain. Russell, yes. So Russell was a surname that came into Ireland from like the Norman invasion of Ireland. And it's found in every major wherever you would find a sort of Norman settlement. You would find a Russell's. So Limerick, Dublin, Leinster. And I know there's Russells of County Down that came across with John de Courcy's a lot. So there's quite a lot of Russells, but they're all unrelated. It's something to do with red, but I don't know red what. It's an old English or French word. Justine, Sandy Baby, Hunter, Shells, Aleo, Smithy, Koala Kev, Let's See, 1980. Thank you very much. I love the Shamrock Koala. Thank you very much for the gifts. You don't have to gift, but thank you for the Shamrocks. You don't have to gift. I always say if you're gonna gift, if you've got a spare bit of change, subscribe to the subscription or the memberships, and then you can come on to our membership only lives, which we have once a month, where I can answer your questions a bit more personally. Thank you, Hunter, for I don't know what that is. I can't see what that symbol looks like. It looks like a neon bee. But thank you, but you don't have to gift. Darcy's, there's a couple of branches of Darcy's, but probably the most famous. There's two branches. There's an Irish family and an Anglo-Norman family who were one of the tribes of Galway. I can't remember, 14 tribes of Galway. It fluctuated. There was actually a couple, but I'm pretty sure it's like 12 or 14 famous tribes, trading families of Galway. It's probably the most famous, branch of them. YDNA is starting to help flesh out the medieval genealogies. Family Tree YDNA has a good blog dedicated to Ireland, specifically the Bruin, and known as O'Connors and MacDonalds. Yes, so the Bruin were, basically the progenitors of everything in this sort of area of Ireland. Or at least the major families in that area, and if they weren't the progenitors, the families in this area who were from this area whenever the Bruin were sort of pushing into it were certainly claiming descent from them. So you have your, like you said, your O'Connor branches, you have your McDermotts, all sort of claiming descent, and then obviously you have multiple. You have the Bruin A, you have the Ebruin Brefne, which is why this is, like I said, the Ebruin Brefne is the branch where the O'Reillys and O'Rourke's of modern day Cavan, if any of you are in there asking for those, claim descent from them. But Dr. Paul McCutter believes it may be a fabrication, and that they when the O'Rourke's and the O'Reillys were rising to prominence, they are related, but whenever their progenitor was rising to prominence, he took that association, because much like our ancient sites like Tara and in Armagh, Uamaha, and many other places in Ireland, Rathcrogan, they were repurposed over time. So a lot of these places were Bronze Age sites, and then used by later migration groups during the Iron Age as religious sites, and then repurposed again, as the guilds, depending on what your belief is on the origin of the Gaels, but let's just say they are a migration group who come in, and then these are repurposing and reusing these ancient sites, and it's same with the names of kingdoms. So a lot of the kingdoms, like Fermanagh, it comes from the Fermanagh, and again, it's a name that was absorbed and used by the Maguires, which I don't actually think they are descended from the Fermanagh. The O'Neills were very prevalent at doing that when they swept down from the Kinloan, swept down from Inishowen in the sort of 800s, the 9th century. So 8th, 9th century, they started to branch down here, and they were giving land to their king groups in these sort of areas, which is why we have a lot of Kinloan king groups in this sort of area. And they were repurposing the names of old names of kingdoms. The reason for this is partly is continuity. A lot of family, you want a bit of continuity, legitimizing your place. If you suddenly, I suppose if I wanted to make an example, if you, when the Normans come across and they take the name of England, they don't change the name to William's Kingdom, or Williamsville or whatever. They keep the name England. That's the Kingdom of England. So they continue it, and with continuation of that name, you keep it legitimate. You're not creating something new. We do it with a lot of things. You just reuse the old name because people have an association with that name, whatever that association may be. So you repurpose it, reuse it. O'Cahans at Donegal throne. Yeah, so O'Cahans, as I said, they're from around here, Derry. We had a lot of dealings with the likes of the McQuillans, the Bissets, which would then become the McDonalds, and they had some dealings with the O'Dohertys of Inishowen. So, that's that's why O'Cahans, like I said, there's so many variations of the name. Costello, it's a name that's it's got multiple. Well, actually, I didn't know about this, but someone was telling me that they have Costellos from Ulster, which I was very surprised to hear about. But Costello primarily is associated with Connacht, a branch of the Burks or the Burks or the Borks. It's primarily associated with Connacht. Many variations like Costello, excuse me, that sort of thing. So, Antrim, I don't know. Serial surnames. What am I missing? Part of the chat here. What am I missing? I don't know. Do I need to scroll back up the chat and find out what I've missed there? Downey, so Downey is primarily associated with the lands of Kelly. Kelly's. I always say I need to remember how to pronounce it. I might actually have it right before I continue. I have notes. See, Gaeilge is not my primary language. I only have it from school, so I am terrible at pronouncing it. So it was the Emain, which again I think that's a very rough translation of that. But the Emain were the like O'Kellys, and the Downies. There's a branch of Downies from there, but it has many variations of it. So you have Downies from Scotland as well. They come from like the Dunnies and stuff like that. So, but primarily the more famous Irish branch would be the Downies from the Heim. How do you pronounce that again? The Main. I don't know if that's right. It doesn't feel right to me. But You'll see it's like Emain. It's like you'll see it if you ever look over at a map of of you know, Ireland, ancient Ireland. Yeah, Ballymena. I'm not that north myself, so yeah, Ballymena. I was born in Ballymena. There you go. Fact, if any of you want to hunt me down, 30 odd years ago, I was born in Ballymena. um, so I don't know if I should really. I should have really got a drink. I didn't come as prepared tonight with my drinks. Who else? Let me see here. McGuinness. McGuinness is a very famous surname in Ireland, not only with its association with the famous drink Guinness, which actually, believe it or not, the Arthur Guinness was descended from the Macongusa, that's the pronunciation of the original pronunciation of the McGuinness, or there's multiple sort of ways of saying it. But yeah, they're primarily from the Ive in County Down, around the areas of like Banbridge and stuff. So yeah, I'm Rath Island. So my neck of the woods. That's where I grew up. So yeah, and there were lords of that area. The McLaughlins, yeah, we spoke about the McLaughlins. There's multiple branches. The primary ones seem to come from the southern and northern Neil branches. So we had the McLaughlins who were kings of Ulster. We had McLaughlins who descend from Male Shocknall, who was king of the southern Neil. And then we have, obviously, Scottish branches coming into Ulster during the more recent migration during the Ulster plantations. So yeah, so it's quite a, and I know a lot of people claim a Viking ancestry for that, and it's quite possibly that some of them are of Viking descent or Norse descent, should we be a bit more specific. But most of them will be of some sort of Gaelic or Scottish extraction. So. Did I see Reardon? Yeah, so Reardons were a Tipperary family, but they ended up sort of being pushed into the Cork area, and I'm not quite sure where in Cork, if I'm completely honest with you. But yeah, there's they're primarily, you'd sort of see them in Tipperary and Cork. So yeah, they're. Mackenzie, you're right. You're from Mackenzie, McCoynach. There's no Z in the Gaelic or Gaelic, in the Gaelic language. So yeah, that Mackenzie's that Z in the name is a modern iteration. It's an invention by. I believe there was a Gaelic symbol that looked very much like a Z, and it just ended up becoming Mackenzie, but it was McCoynach. That is correct. The surname not until century McLaughlin is very Gaelic, not very. Yeah, see, this is John. This is the thing with a lot of Viking surnames. I did quotation marks. You can't see because I haven't got a camera today. But Viking surnames, there's no such thing in a very literal sense. But Norse descended people obviously would have adopted surnames. When these Gaul Gaels, but by time surnames have sort of started to be adopted, it's almost 200 years since the end of the Viking Age, what's known as the Viking Age anyway, and these people are very much assimilated into Ireland, Irish culture. They still kind of have their own little bit of their own culture, which is sort of attested to whenever the Normans first come across to the likes of Dublin. But these names like McCotter, Doyle, Murphy, McLaughlin, that people are like, oh, I must be Viking. The thing is, it became quite popular for a lot of Gaelic families to adopt Viking names in the 11th century. They were adopting the name like Olaf. So you would have found a purebred, I hate using that term, but let's just go with it, Olaf. But he would have been a purebred Gael Irishman, a 1,000 years worth of history in his location of, Cork, and he's suddenly just taken on the name Olaf, and there's multiple reasons for that. A bit of fashion, because it was quite cool, like, to have this like unique name, but primarily it's because of the interactions between the families. The Gaul Gaels and the Irish were sort of intermarrying. They were fostering each other's children. They were building alliances. So this Olaf could have had an uncle from his mother's side who was an Olaf, and he's been given that name, which is quite common for children in Ireland to be given uncles' names, like your second born and your firstborn and stuff like that. So and then obviously he forms a king group, a family take his name, MacAuliffe. That's one of the, I always use that example. Wayne's MacAuliffe clan gets mentioned quite a lot in in these videos. Saint Olaf was a big saint in the Irish Love Saints. Yeah, there's that too. There were these. It's not just trend and relations. It's saints. It's there's a lot of reasons why it would happen. A lot more likely than being of Viking or Norse settler descent. We have to remember, by and large, as a migration group into Ireland, the Norse had probably the least impact. In a paternal sense, matrilineal lineages, yeah, there would be quite a few, but in a patrilineal sense, very limited. Primarily because it's lords, kings, whose children are primarily surviving into adulthood, because they have access to the better food, health, better way of life, and their better access to mates, females to breed and have children. So they're having multiple children. So they're more likely to have that sort of, that progeny. Thing is, there's not that many Viking lords in Ireland. They owned very small areas of Ireland, and even whenever they didn't retain it very often. Ireland was very particular about their lineages, which is why Brian Boru had to take on the term Emperor of the Gaels rather than High King of Ireland, because he couldn't really claim that title. The Aenil would never have allowed it. They would never have legitimised him or accepted it. They never really did, but it's politics. St. Patrick's Day. Yes, St. Patrick's Day is on Monday. I have, for any of you that are interested, I have a members only live or subscription only live on Monday. I do one every month, and it's about all the families involved in St. Patrick's life in Ireland. So maybe it'll be the families who kidnapped him, the families that kept him as a slave, as a shepherd, and the first sort of families that were converted by him. Now, obviously, again, it's before the surnames, but it's the so the heads of these king groups that we know of, and then their descendants. So, if you're wondering if your family was involved in anything to do with St. Patrick's life, I'll see you on Monday. Get the subscription, and I'll see you on the subscription only live. E-nail a dry. Oh, wait. What's dry mean? Is that like good? Because the e-nail are great. True kings of Ireland. So that's a wee bit of a bit of history for that for you. Moyles or Ford or Moyles. Well, Moyles are there's quite a few Moyles, primarily in Munster and Wicklow. But you've also got like basically this whole we've got Clare, Wicklow, Munster. Because there's multiple variations that would be translated to Moyle, like Mullane and Mullins and Moylan. It's something to do with the church, but I'm not quite sure. I can't remember I'm not. Although I know a lot of locations for surnames and the history of them, I'm not that great on the translations of them. And most of the translations of them are loose translations, anyway. But I'm pretty sure it's something to do with the church. So yeah, that's the Moyles. Coffees are related to the O'Driscolls. They get mentioned most nights. There's always seems to be a coffee in here. They were down here from Rosscarbery, or originally Rossallaghter. Have links to the church in Rossallaghter too. The email wouldn't acknowledge Brian Brew as true RD. Dry. That's what you meant. They didn't drink. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, why would the Eniel accept him? The only two sort of families that could really claim that sort of title were the Owenoctor and the Eniel, the two king groups. I mean, the Connacht, obviously, with the Rory O'Connor, eventually would take it too, but with ancient links going back whenever the first High Kings, mythical or not, the Owenoctor and the Eniel are the two main sort of Collins. Yes, there's multiple origin points for Collins because it's also an English name and an Irish name. So you've got Collins coming across from England, and then you've got the Collins of Cork as well, from South Cork, who are obviously an Irish family. So yeah, but it's one of those names that have multiple sort of origin points in our beautiful Emerald Isle. Did I say Brazil? Yeah, Brazil's actually not. So my family's got a lot of connections to Armagh, but Brazil's from O'Brasel is an Armagh surname primarily. Whoa! You're so fast. I can't keep up. Probably the only teacher. Right, Fionn. Remember how Philip at Irish Medieval History was saying about a shovel? Can we not go for that, please? No politics allowed. Inner conversation. Joe Boy, Emerald, CC3D. Wow, thank you. Sleeping. I can't see the last bit. Sleeping. Dra. Lenny, Kathy McNeil, Urhai, Amanda, Mrs. Tidy, Danielle, it's Josh, Frederick, and again, you every live. Thank you very much. There's quite a few names. I'm starting to see some regulars: Hunter, Sandy Baby, Smithy, Shelter Leo, Koala Kev, Let's See. I think I've already thanked you guys as well. Chantel 506. Thank you very much. I like to say to everyone, you don't have to subscribe. You don't have to give gifts. But if you want to get bargain for your money rather than just throwing gifts at me, subscriptions. Lisa Lils, again another name I'm starting to recognise as I start to see Mikey Bananas, another one. I'm starting to see some regular names coming back here. He's a glutton for punishment, you know that. Just sit here all night listening to me waffle on about Irish history. Excuse me. You make me lose my train of thought. McKeon, again, it's from McKeon. It's a surname that's found all over Ireland. There's not just one branch of them. Again, found there's a main branch found up in Ulster. Excuse me. Kelleher. Yeah, Kellehers are a Clare family related to Dalcash. They're primarily found in Clare, but they've obviously branched down into Cork and Kerry. But the main known family of them is Kelleher, is related to the O'Briens. So that's the Kelleher's from a nephew, which I believe he fought at the Battle of Clontarf. I think I mentioned him in one of my videos. Which clans fought at the Battle of Clontarf? McCormick, Irish and Scottish. Wondering if they're related. No, more likely not. Both, obviously, McCormick is both Scottish and Irish, coming from Cormac, which is a Gaelic name. But it's unlikely they're related. But again, it's one of those names that has come from Scotland into an area where McCormick's already existed, and so they to find out which sort of line you descend from is would be very tricky, indeed, because it's one of those names that just seems to get about. Hang on, every time I give a name, I'm trying to make sure I don't repeat myself. I was told, I was reading that. Everyone stopped chatting for a second. I was reading that. Told my whole life we were Scottish Forbes, but my DNA says that we are Irish. Yeah, so there is an Irish branch of Forbes, anglicised from MacPherbrus. It's a famous historian from MacPherbrus, and they were from Sligo. So yeah, they're I don't know whereabouts, but in Sligo, another county. So yeah, and they anglicised their name to Forbes. So yeah, if you've got Forbes and you've suddenly done like a Y-DNA test and it's come up Irish, and you're sort of sitting there going, Forbes is a Scottish name. No, it's a name. So I do have a video on saying is your English surname? I should be really is your English surname Irish? The video really should be, is your English or Scottish surname, or maybe even British surname Irish? But by and large, we had a lot of families translate their name into English versions. O'Halloran, yes, O'Halloran from Cork, yeah. So there's actually two main branches of O'Halloran. I've covered them before as well. You've got the O'Hallorans of Clare, actually, that's where they're from, and there's an O'Halloran of Ulster. I think someone was doing DNA testing whether to see they were related, but I didn't track the study to see if they did have a connection. But the O'Hallorans down here, one of the reasons they got their money from owning the land that Pilgrim route went through. So, but they were also lords of a border area, so they were quite heavily active in defending County Clare from any invaders from the north. Any of the Burkes decided to come down, give them hassle. Hang on, let me see. McCormick, does it just depend on the spell? No, so never. If anyone is sort of using spelling to dictate where their line of descent comes from, say like McCormick, it's a redundant way to do it. Just especially due to the fact that a lot of families would adopt a singular spell. So in the 19th century, when standardization of spelling came in, families would adopt a name that was similar to their spelling of surnames. So like I've covered before, the Macumhoil or Cumwail, the Macumwails of or McCowls of Armagh would become Campbells. But then you'd have Campbells who came in with the Ulster plantation and they would settle in Armagh, and they're spelt exactly the same way, same with Hamels. Hamel is a surname that's associated with the Ulster plantation, but there was an Ulster family, the O'Humwale, who are a native Gaelic family, but it's just spelt Hamel. So it's not really a great way to dictate. And I know some people will use that whole Mac and Muck is Scottish and Irish, but there's plenty of examples of it being on both sides. It's really just how it was written down and how families have carried it on through the generations. Many Americans will tell you about the fact that whenever they've their families come across from like Ireland or Scotland, they've respelt their name to like Americanize it. I think that's a story a lot of Americans can sort of associate with, that they so Mac has always been using it, yes, and there's the earliest sort of spelling of it we can see on why am I drawing a blank on the name of the stones? It's driving me mad. But it's MAQ on the Ogham stones. I don't know why I couldn't think of that for a second. I had it right in my head. Too much information coming into it. Yeah, so Ogham stones is MAQ. We can see MAQ written on, and that's the proto version of Mac. There's quite a few of them down here in Kerry. So. Elijah, thank you very much for all those gifts. They really don't have to be that. Thank you. Owen Tucker, 3 love hearts and then an LY. I can't see the whole name, I'm sorry. If I click these 3 dots, does that show me who you are? No, it doesn't, and I don't want to block you. Especially since you sent me an ice cream. And Jerry, I'm going to say either that's O'Mahony or O'Mahan. Thank you very much, Elijah. Please, subscriptions are better than gifts. If you really want to throw money at me, go for the subscriptions. You get stuff out of that too. I feel like all you're getting if you're throwing gifts at me here is just me waffling. Get more bang for your buck with the subscription only lives once a month. So at least then I can give you something back, because I always feel bad whenever you just give me money here. Or that, I know it's only a couple of quid, but it means the world to me. Thank you. Conlon, Conlon's you've got many families. Again, it's like you've got Roscommon, you've got Galway, and it comes from basically the whole Connacht, like Sligo, and it's basically because again it's another name that has many variations, like Connellan and Conlon, and many variations of that, which have been anglicised and changed to Conlon. So I know a few Conlons up in Belfast actually. Even church records in Ireland have several different versions of my surname for the same individual. It depends on the individual recording the name. Exactly. This is, and especially if you think you're in the 19th century rural Ireland and your surname is Shea, your ability to spell it would impact it as well, because you may be using Irish phonetics to spell it, and then you're trying to, as we said about the Mackenzies, who are McCoinich, the Z has been put in there because there was a Gaelic symbol that was used to preserve the sound, and then it was changed into a Z by English writers, or even Scots who are using English phonetics to spell out something for whatever reason. So, and then suddenly you have Mackenzies. But then again, you could have a branch up in the north who maybe their priest or whatever, or minister is maybe a bit more aware of McCoinich, and puts 2 N's in there instead. So it's just a really good example of how that can happen. For one of my English surnames that came from rural Staffordshire, English accents have more of a variety than they wouldn't pronounce the G's and the Keelings and Keelan in paper. Yeah, so there's also like a great example is someone pulled up on one of my videos that I said battle instead of battle. and it's a form of T-glottaling. It's called T-glottaling, where you sort of scan over, and that's found in parts of Ulster and parts of Yorkshire. But that's the only places it's really found, to have this T-glottaling, where you don't pronounce the T's in battle. You say battle. So so I knew anyone with two T's in it. If I had been a priest or a minister or a record keeper, and they come up to me and said, they'd ask me, if not if I'd been, but if I'd gone to one and said, my surname is Baal, they may have just put Baal, and I could have been Baal, instead of Battle, having the surname Battle. So you can see there already in this example. Kelly's, yeah, I cover Kelly's. I've done a wee video, short video on the Kelly's of Wicklow. There's like 8 unrelated branches. I've covered them before, but every night there's a Kelly in here too. We have the Kellys of Cornwall in England, Kellys of Scotland, unrelated to the Irish branches, but you have the most famous Kellys down here, and then you have Kellys in Ulster as well. So it's one of those names that again went through that Anglicisation process. The Baal of Clontarf. The Baal o' Clontarf. Yeah, that's basically what this guy was pulling me up on my video. You won't. Do you know what? I think if any of you are drinkers, if any of you aren't, I'm sorry, but if any of you are drinkers, watch the Battle of Clontarf video, which clans fought at the battle, and take a shot every time I say the word battle. You'll be hammered halfway through. Make a game of it. Ned Kelly is big in Australia, our biggest bushragger. Yes, yeah, again, he's related to an Irish line. I believe I want to say he's related to the Wicklow line, but I can't remember why, because I think that's what inspired me to do the Wicklow thing, but I'm not 100%. Name my daughter after him. Good man. Good, wild colonial boy. He's a criminal. Yeah, so it's just like I say, if you have those sort of burning questions about like why your surname may be the way it is, then I think some of the videos I have would really sort of explain it a bit better. Elijah, are you still sending stuff? Please don't tell me you're still sending stuff. Joshua, thank you. Craycraft, thank you very much. Thank you so very much. Did I see? I did see a name here. I did want to sort of cover. Oh my God, so many of you. It's great to see you all. Maher. Yeah, so yes, the Mahers are a Tipperary family, primarily. Like, it's a variation of like Meher and Maher. But yeah, they're from Tipperary, and I'm not exactly sure where, but I think it's I want to say it's around Icaran. It's not on this map. Oh, there you go. I think it's definitely around this area of this neck of the woods, but it's Tipperary. I really would wish I could get a map that would like let me zoom in and you could see like a bit more information. So like if anyone of you is looking to find out, you could see a town here and be like, oh yeah, I'll go there. Which clan? A good question here. Don't get enough questions from using TikTok. You know that. You just ask for surnames. But here's a question from Javi. Which clans have the biggest beef in your opinion? Well, this is a great question because have a biggest beef. We have the O'Reillys at the minute with the O'Rourkes. Up until like 2014, we're having a court case about clan lands. So have is definitely these guys, but had the biggest beef. So I'm going to say like I'm going to put the Norman families in here, because by this sort of stage, the Fitzgeralds and the Butlers are probably the biggest rivalry in Irish history, because they were the biggest players in Ireland for so long. Because you would have sort of the O'Briens and the McCarthys there. That's a very famous beef. But the O'Brien's power dwindled to Clare. The McCarthys rose were beaten by the O'Briens and then sort of rose to prominence in Desmond. But that they were kind of contained here. But the Fitzgeralds and the Butlers would have a beef right up until almost early modern period of history. So I'm going to go where they had the biggest beef. But you've also got very famous sort of like the O'Neills and the O'Briens, the O'Neills and the O'Noctor or the McCarthys, the O'Neills and the O'Neills. Basically, the O'Neills and everyone else. The O'Neills were quite a angry lot. But yeah, I know it's kind of, some people might feel it's a bit cheating because the Butlers and the Fitzgeralds might not really constitute as a clan as we would know it, but they were the most powerful families in Ireland for a very long time, and the Burkes could have been involved in that, but they were too busy fighting amongst their own separate bands, the McWilliam Burkes. For a sustained period, I'm going to say the Butlers and the Burkes. But like I say, the O'Briens and the McCarthys had a very good whack at it too, in the 13th century. So I hope that answers your question, Javi. 50% of people that deeply test their ID find out the surname is incorrect. Non-paternal events, adoption of surname for prestige was common. So the thing is with Ireland, there's a really good example that comes from the McCarthys. So McCarthys take their surname from McCarthy, which was a 11th, I want to say, but somewhere in the 11th century, I believe he was. Anyway, McCartaigh. He is the person that gave the name to the McCarthys, but not all McCarthys descend from him, because a lot of people who are part of his wider king group, so it's like his Éire Fína, his Dúr Fína and his Éire Fína, which are like your wider king groups, generations afterwards would take his surname. Yes, the McCartaigh and all his cousins, descendants, all do descend from O'Noctor Cashel paternal line, but they all took the surname, or many branches took the surname. So there's many McCarthys that are O'Noctor Cashel king group, but they're not from McCarthy. And so that's another thing that sort of plays into this whole, who am I in the clan system? So you would often have, like, say, wider king groups adopting a name from a more prominent sort of relative, a distant cousin, a distant uncle. You also have to accept the way the clan system works in the sense of, like, people would adopt a surname for political reasons. So they would claim to be descending of a particular family. Maybe it wasn't wise to be a certain family group in a certain area, so you sort of adopt that name. You also have what else would you have that would sort of force you? Obviously, again, you'd have in the 19th century, a lot of Irish families were re-changing their names back, or what they believed back to the old Gaelic versions of that, and were just completely missing the mark. It was completely wrong. They were trying to, they maybe had the surname Fox, and they were translating it back to Soinich. I can't pronounce. Like I say, I apologize for my Irish translations, but anyway, they went back to that, or maybe they were that and they went to Fox, but actually their surname may have been completely different. It could have been like that could have been an abbreviation of the original name. So there's just a lot of reasons in Ireland specifically why in the 19th century. So there was the Gaelic revival in the 19th century, 18th and 19th century, with the rise of no, not 18th, 19th and 20th century. Sorry, was the Gaelic revival, and they were re-Gaelicizing their names, and quite often incorrectly. So there are a lot of people in Ireland that are not. I don't think they were wildly incorrect. They were just sort of like, again, they were taking it. A lot of people were taking it quite literal. So there are a lot of, like, say, a lot of people that have got Irish surnames that aren't really what they think. So it's just another way of like how it can. Did they have anglicised names, the last names, due to British colonialisation? Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons for it. A lot of laws were placed in. The most famous is the Statutes of Kilkenny in 13 something, 1360. I want to say something. Anyway, I did know it. But anyway, so one of the rules was that you had to change your name if you were within English heartlands, which was primarily only this area, although they wanted it to extend to the areas that a lot of Gaelic, so the Fitzgeralds owned all this, and you had a lot of families like the Plunketts and stuff like that. So anyway, you had to change your name to like Butler, White, Chester, all that sort of thing, in this sort of area here. So they were adopting English names, as per the law of the Statutes of Kilkenny. So if you're a butler, you could be a butler from the Butler dynasty, or you could be a butler who just so happens family changed their name to Butler due to English laws. But yeah, it is what it was. I've heard there was a King McGoldrick, but I don't know how true that is. I have never heard of a King McGoldrick. I'm guessing, are you saying that that's like, is that an anglicised version? Oh, I see your surname is McGoldrick. All right, so you're saying like maybe you're descended from a king. I wouldn't know like specific kings unless they were like Brian Boru or the McCarthys or Niall Gulvin, who would be like major Neil Shocknall, who would be major progenitors. If they're just a king of where like a small triachet, which is like a small kingdom or a small townland, or a lord, then I wouldn't really know all of them. There's a lot of them, but I do know the McGoldricks are from Fermanagh, so maybe a relation to the Maguires, but like I say, they could have. I'm not, like I say, I this head of mine knows surnames, but I can't know castles, all the kings, all the individuals in your family tree. If you tell me, if Caitlin, thank you very much for the gifts and a bow, but if Caitlin here who's gifted suddenly told me, like what was her grandfather and great grandfathers, in the family tree, it kind of gets a bit too much information. I never knew it was from Fermanagh. That's quite cool. Yeah, so I just know it's Fermanagh's a big enough place. I want to say they were like Lords of Carbery, which is sort of this side of it. But there is a couple of Carberys. Carbery's quite common. There's one over in Leith. There's one down here. But yeah, Lords of Carbery, which I think it's the Fermanagh branch. So. It's quite common there. Vex, thank you very much for the heart. McCarthy, yeah, I've covered them. Cork and Dr. Cashel, very famous. So very famous. Probably one of the most famous surnames in Irish history. Definitely in the top 5. Wow, this is sort of kind of obvious. Which we just Kavanagh. Did I see Kavanagh from Mayo? No, I don't know any Kavanaghs from it. I know the Kavanaghs. So there's a couple of branches of Kavanaghs. Actually, let's see if the Mayo branch are the ones who are church landholders. I have. Let me get my notes from the Erna clans. Nope. Are you going to make me have to spell the whole thing out? Cavan. Yeah, you are. Cavan. Yeah, so, yes, there's a McCavanagh branch up in Derry, and then obviously the Kavanaghs, the most famous line would be the Kavanaghs of Leinster, who I've covered before, so I'll just kind of go over it briefly, but they are descended primarily from McMurrough's son, Kavanagh, McMurrough's obviously most famous for inviting the Normans across to Ireland, but his son, they'd mostly be descendants of his son, so from the Dunley king group of Leinster. So, Fionn, you're gonna love this. You're actually gonna love this because we were speaking about it the other day, and we were sort of saying, you know, I used them as an example, but the McKnights, yes, the McKnights are primarily Scottish surname that came across and settled in Ulster. And it comes from McNaught and the Nortons. If you're, although I don't like to use the term Scotch Irish, but if you are Scotch Irish, if you just associate with that terminology, your family would be from Ulster and came across from Scotland more than likely. Keenan, yeah. So Keenan's actually a family from Fermanagh primarily. Again, there's multiple variations of that, and I do have some notes on these that you won't find on like some Google search. From the parish of parish of Cleanish in Fermanagh, poets to the Maguires, and earners of Cleanish. So there you go. If you're, there will be in a video, my Erna video coming out soon. So, and seated in Turkeenan in Monaghan. So they're from this sort of neck of the woods. So there you go. There's your Keenans. Like I said, you won't find that on your random Google search. I always tell people to be very careful what you read on those sort of Google websites. Are very very generic, so you have to be very very careful whenever you helps to know a bit of the history. Rooney's are from County Down, and I believe they were a hereditary family. Were they poets or Brahmins? I think they were poets of the McGuinnesses of Ivey. So this neck of the woods here. But I believe there's a Rooney branch over this neck of the woods too. The Mulrooneys. But I can't remember if it's over here or if it's a little bit further south. But the one of the main branches of Rooney is from County Down. So there you go. There's a wee bit of information on them. Let me see on my coats of arms are made up for the most part of Gaelic for most Gaelic terms. Again, it's hang on. Let me just see if you're actually. Why don't you like the term Scotch Irish? Because I think I've told you this. Scotch Irish, I think, is a poor choice of words for families that came across from Scotland to Ireland. especially since many of the families, so many of the people who attribute themselves to being Scotch Irish, are not Irish at all, in the sense that they have no Irish ancestors, because many of the families who came across and settled in Ulster before moving on to the Americas 2 generations later were only marrying other Scots families. I would say anyone who then retained that, any of the branches that stayed in Ulster afterwards, maybe the brothers who stayed in Ulster would be Scotch Irish, but the American descendant who then moved on to America, whose family only married within their small Scottish planter family groups and moved on, would have no real, and that's the problem I have with it. It's not a big problem. I don't mind if anyone uses it. I'm certainly not offended or think you're wrong for using it. It's just a term that I would more attribute to Ulster Scots than someone whose family sort of stopped through like it was a B&B before moving on to the Americas. Have you spoken about the Clans&Dynasties? They were my great grandparents. I've mentioned them. I don't really get time to sort of go into a lot of detail. I try to go through as much detail as I can for a lot of families, but there's a lot of people ask questions, so I try to get through as many questions as I can through the night. If you're wanting a bit more information, I have to wait for the video, but they do take a little while to produce, or come to the subscription only lives that happen once a month, where the grouping's a little bit smaller and I make sure to spend a bit more time sort of going through your name. So yeah, coat of arms are made up for most Gaelic. Fact, most of them are 19th and 20th century creations, plucked out of thin air, but there are Gaelic families that do have coats of arms that go back to the medieval period. One example I use the most is the Kavanaghs, because they probably have the oldest coat of arms in Ireland, or surviving coat of arms at least. And I do have a video on that sort of thing, on should Irish clans have coats of arms. I do believe if any of you are using a coat of arms, that how you doing, Kaylee? That I don't see a problem with it. I think they are a great symbol for families to sort of get behind. And like I say, most of these coats of arms, although they were sort of made up, what coat of arms wasn't made up? It's just when it was made up. And so the coats of arms that we're using today are still 150, 200 years old. So that's still got a good bit of history behind it. So I'm a big fan of coats of arms and families getting behind them, and using them as a clan symbol, which isn't in the way the English would use them with the College of Arms. But I think it's it's a great thing for Irish and maybe Scottish. I know Scottish have their own crests as well. But it's a great thing for Irish families to sort of get back of the diaspora, America, Scotland, America, the UK, Australia, Canada, to sort of get behind this uniting symbol. So I'm quite a big fan of them in that sort of sense. So yeah, I don't know what your sort of feeling of that is, John, but that is my sort of personal, and I again, it's not something that I would go be mad about. It's just sort of a wee thing that I my friend believes that Rainey is won't accept that it's an Irish surname, and I mean, to be fair, Rainey's got so many origin points. It's English, Irish, Anglo-Irish, Scottish. So I mean, I wasn't aware of any Huguenot connection. But he, if he. I know some Rainies actually in that part of the world, but yeah, if he's that sort of angry about that sort of connection, although Duggan I would have a bit more. I'm sorry, I don't know of any other Duggins apart from like Tipperary and Waterford. I don't know of any other Duggins around, so yeah, he's gonna have to suck that one up. I think the McAuliffe coat of arms is about 300 years old. So again, yeah, you have. There's been points where families have been given them later on. For especially so a lot of them actually a lot of families claim them from the surrender and regrant from Henry VIII. The problem is that they just don't survive. So I'll delete that one. I don't think they survive. There's not many records of them of what they looked like. So the modern versions of them, some of them are taken from descriptions, so they could still be wrong. But Annie Reardon, thank you very much. Smooth Six Golf, Jody, Tammy Mac, Faster Than Fish. Great name. Nickel J, Bethany, Vex. I think I've already thanked you, Vex. You get another thank you, but thank you all for the gifts. I really do appreciate it. Oh, hang on. Someone's saying they I missed this. Hang on. Where is that gone? Where's that name? I asked yesterday about the history of the family of Gaynor. Yeah, so Gaynor's, again, it's another family that's got multiple origin points from Maginor. Gaynor's are an English translation, and you've got the O'Garians as well. It's sort of comes from the MacFinbar family. So again, a family that claims sort of like Viking descent. But there's a branch of them mostly found in Longford. So there you go. Zoom right in. I don't know how clear that is on your screen, but there you go. What we were saying here, there's a couple more. Whenever I click it, I get like a screen call. When were the tartans really made then? Are they considered to be the same era as coat of arms? So, again, it's one of those things that like tartans have existed for thousands of years, but family tartans have not. And then there's the discussion about, I am not a tartanologist, that's not a real thing, by the way. But I don't study clothing. But I've read papers that sort of go along and sort of mention things about this, and I know there are some pretty good YouTube channels. And Clint Edwards at Scottish History Podcast, good friend of mine. If you Native Americans, any of you, but he is sponsored by a tartan company who I do not follow, but he would also go into a bit of the history of it. He would probably agree that the family association is incorrect. Although they used to say it was depending on the colours, you could tell what tartan family was, because they wouldn't have a specific colour in a specific area. But I don't agree with that, because we all know that we've been trading with the Middle East for centuries. So you're telling me that one Glen couldn't trade with another is a bit far fetched. But the Armagh Irish Duggan, yeah. So like I say, there's going to be multiple branches of the surname of Duggan. Whatever sort of variation of the name. Like I say, I only know purely because it depends on the family, what the family's been up to, or what I've researched. I can't know if there's multiple branches. I do believe Dugan comes from actually. There's multiple variations of the name that are unrelated again. Dugan. Oh, excuse me, I'm losing my voice a bit. Who needs tartan when you have saffron? True. Thank you. I'll have to check that. The chat. Yeah, check it. Yes, name's Clint Edwards. He does a podcast, multiple podcasts. I think he's on all platforms. Great work, but he also has a YouTube channel which he sort of puts it across there. So yeah. Let me see here. I'm trying to make sure that any of you that have messaged here that. Do you know the Connolly's? Yeah, so a Connolly's another one that's found in most places. There's a branch that is found in sort of like the Monaghan Lythe area. Actually, it's really funny. I was doing the what clans before finding the Battle of Clontarf, and Connolly was one of the names I pretty much had to write in every kingdom. But like I say, there's I know more about the Monaghan line, but I know there's families in Galway. There's quite a lot in Ulster actually. There's quite a lot in Ulster. Oh, there you go, Wicklow Mountains. If anyone wants to see, I don't know what's happening then, but. And the 75% of the Wicklow Mountains. Do you know anything about Banshee legends? No, apart from obviously each family was sort of would take one or have one associated with them. But mythology is again not my area of study, and I would hate to give anyone any misinformation. About that. I believe Philip at Irish Medieval History has covered some stuff before. I know that Bertie Brosnan has done some mythical stuff on TikTok. I've done some work with him before. So if he's got some mythical stuff. And there is I think her name is the B word. The B for female dog. I don't want to get demonetized. Of Ulster on TikTok has some stuff on mythology, but yes, I said I wouldn't want to give you any misinformation. Herbert, DJ Happyback, MK Ultra, Rohan, thank you very much for the gifts. As I said, people do not have to gift. You don't have to. I do appreciate it. If you want to subscribe to the memberships on YouTube or on TikTok, I do once a month. I do a members only live, and we've got one this Monday about St. Patrick and the families involved in his life in Ireland, those that kidnapped him, the families he worked for as a shepherd, and the families he converted. So, and we're going to be covering all stories, whether the link to Mayo, the link to Kerry, and the link to Ulster, so we can get as many families that could be linked to St. Patrick's life. So, yeah. If any of you are interested in becoming a member, all memberships apart from the 99p one on YouTube, although that will be, any of you that do have the 99p membership on YouTube, it will be, the St. Patrick one will be open to you as well, because it's St. Patrick's Day, and I couldn't do it to you. So even if you just want to spend the 99p and come to the live on St. Patrick's Day and then just cancel it, feel free. So the O'Donoghue used to be kings. Yes, you did. You used to be you're part of Cork. You know, down here. So yeah, yours quite a famous family from O'Donoghue. Cork and Kerry is the main sort of areas that you're associated with. Zach, thank you very much for the subscription. Welcome to the subscription club. Oh yes, yeah. Wait, I seen your name here. Where did you go? Where are you? Yes. Okay. So Malone's. Yeah, Malone's traditionally they're associated with the O'Connors and Connacht. And actually, I think I have some because they're associated with. I think I've got them from my Erna video, because I know they have associations with a religious site which was Clonmacnoise, a very famous religious site. So yeah, they should be hopefully making an appearance on one of my upcoming videos. And thank you very much. You enjoy the content. Thank you, Zach. So, well, I hope to see you on the St. Patrick's Members Only Live. If you have any more questions. Right. You've got some big questions over here. I know ours is called Melan. Hang on. Right, hang on. I know ours is called Melan and has a cave somewhere around Newmarket in Duhallow. I can't remember what we were talking about when that came out, Wayne. Don't tell me that both sides of our family are Irish, but it doesn't seem like Gilpin is an Irish name. They were possibly Scottish or Welsh. So the thing is with, like I've said, I think I've said before about families adopting English names, but I'm not aware of any Gilpins or any Irish names adopting the surname Gilpin. But like I say, there's a lot of names out there. I can't know them all, but I'm pretty sure there's not. See, a lot of my sort of research comes from there was a study done by Dukas, and they collected a lot of it's like this part of the National Folklore Collection, and they collected a lot of surnames and sort of found the anglicizations and the variations of them. And I spent a lot of time on that website just looking at all the variations of names. It's sort of like I'm sure many of you have done the Wikipedia tunnel, where you just click and click and click and click. Well, I do the same thing on this on this National Folklore Collection. Do you know anything about Bex? I don't. It sounds to me like an English surname, and I don't know of any Irish variations of Bex from Thomastown. A trade like stonecutters, maybe they could have been later additions to Ireland during the plantations. Additionally, McDonald's has a separate line that I can't trace prior to the US without the maiden. So McDonald's, again, I've covered these sort of before briefly, but we've got a branch down here in Leinster, a branch up here in Ulster, and even some of the O'Donnells were adopting the McDonald sort of surname. Donald's quite a popular name that was attributed to, many Irishmen and Scotsmen would have it, and then the sons, but the main branches seem to be the Gallowglass family in Leinster and the McDonalds, who were related to the Lords of the Isles of Antrim. Both were actually related, but just through various lines. Most McDonalds will be in some way related to the McDonalds of the Isles of Scotland, or possibly the O'Donnells, who've taken the muck instead of the O. I haven't found anything but a lot of things here in America, but nothing to connect them to Ireland, so thank you. You're very welcome. Mongfin, the goddess of the Irish worship during Samhain. Yeah, again, it's a very weak area of my study. Our that sort of various. I mean, I started reading some of the stories to my kids, but it's the PG version, if that, you know. Let's write this down just so I need to. Where do the Connollys come from? Yeah, did I just do the Connollys? Connollys, there's so many variations of Connolly. That's the problem. You've got Connolly, got Keneally, Kennelly, and never mind all the Irish variations of those sort of names. Primarily, like I said, there's the family in Ulster. There's a couple of families in Ulster, actually, to be fair. Like I think I sort of mentioned it. So yeah, it's crazy how many variations of that name. It's one of those names that I really hate, but like I say, not in the sense I hate the name, but it's just finding the branch. Like I say, if you watch the Battle of Clontarf video, which clans fought at the Battle of Clontarf, you'll see your name pop up in just about every kingdom. From all the way from Kildare, all the way up to Armagh, and beyond. It seems, I'd say there's a large concentration in this area, from Leith to Monaghan to Tyrone, but many of them are unrelated. It seems to be Meath, Leith, Monaghan, Tyrone. So that's. Are there any Scottish? So there was a study done in Galloway. A census done in the 17th century, and there was quite a few O's in Galloway, but it's not something I've studied yet, whether they are later additions to Scotland. There are records of the O prefix being in Scottish surnames. So the MacIntaggarts king group had an O in it, and the Campbells, who they claim descent from, but more likely are maternally related to, had an O in it as well in their prefix. I can't remember the exact O's, but yes. So the O surname, because remember it's comes from the from like grandson of. But it is very rare, and even like Ogilvy or Oglivy. I know it's spelt primarily without the comma in the O, but some do spell it with that, so I don't know if that counts. And Manx, I know nothing about Manx surnames. All I can tell you is who owned the Isle of Man at various times. But I can't tell you any of the prominent families in the Isle of Man. It's not really somewhere that's been on my radar, although it should. I've kind of overlooked it. Bad me. It's primarily just from Brian Bruce. The O'Brien's owning it for a while. I'm pretty sure the O'Crillys are Scottish. O'Crilly to me is an Irish surname to me. I don't know of a Scottish version of it. I know they're associated with the it comes from like a variation of McRaleigh, but it's found mainly in Armagh, I believe, and Leith, so this neck of the woods. But I'm Father Crilly. What about him? But if you find something on the Scottish variation of that, please don't feel free if you have these weird and sort of little niche families that are sitting in areas or stuff like that. Feel free to share, because like I say, I spend my time researching them, but a lot of the information is scattered, which is why I started the channel. The reason I started this channel was to try and localize a lot of the information into one place, so families who aren't part of, who are maybe part of the diaspora, who haven't got an understanding of Irish history as much as they would like, and their family's place within it, and then don't have the ability to research and differentiate between the garbage that's out there and what's real history of their family's connections. Like a lot of people would say, like, oh, I'm descended from a high king and stuff like this, so that is why I started this channel, so I could bring all the information together. I only know of O'Crilley from right, let's see here. I've done Collins, an Irish and English surname, from Cork, Bay. Who else have we got? I think we. I've done O'Brien's, I've done McCarthy's. O'Brien's are Clare, McCarthy's are. Oh, TikTok's telling me off. You've not been live for long enough. Like, sure, we'll do that. They like you to make sure that you prove that you're active. As if anyone, I don't know, do people sort of sit on TikTok for hours on end and not prove that they're active? Lawless, yeah. Lawless is you've got Lawless and Lillis. It's an English surname. Primarily found in where you would find most sort of Anglo-Norman families. I'm not aware of any connection to an actual native Irish family. Not that they're not native, but I hope you know what I mean. Let's have a look. McDermott's, again, is a Roscommon family related to the O'Connors primarily, but there are McDermott's in Ulster too. Sheila Coy, thank you very much. Mickey, Jax, Lone Star, Amy Jane, Barbara, Kit Kat Vintage. Thank you very much for the gifts. I really do appreciate that. Let me see. Where's YouTube gone? I've lost you, YouTube. I clicked something and I lost you. It's not the way to do it, is it? Lepore, yeah, so Par, but there is an Irish branch of Pars too. Who are unrelated. It was a name that was adopted by an Irish branch of an Irish family, an Anglicization of their name. Can't remember which one. I do think it's mentioned in one of my videos though. Is your English surname Irish? There is an Irish branch of them. There you go. Can McGregor's be Irish? As in, do they have a set from here? I mean, I don't see why not. I don't see why a McGregor couldn't be Irish with the McGregor, but I don't know of any prominent lines that would exist. So, if you're thinking McGregor from Dublin, who we shall not speak about, I only know the McGregors of Scotland. I don't know of any sort of. We have to remember that a lot of family names, they can exist in an area and not have anything written down about them. O'Donnell's, yeah. O'Donnell's are primarily from Donegal, would be the most famous branch of the family. From the O'Connell, and they expanded and beat off the rivals of the O'Cannons and the O'Heenys before certain dominance, giving rise to branches such as the Gallaghers. Molly, thank you very much for your first gift. I really appreciate that. And Common, what is that gift? It's like is that a leprechaun or something? I can't really see it, but that's so cool. O'Meara's from Tipperary. They are from Tipperary. In fact, I'm in the middle of doing their video. I've been doing it for about a year, but I'm back at it. So the O'Meara's are from Ormond. Although Dr. Paul McCarter thinks they are originally from Kilkenny and moved up to Ormond in the 13th century, and but I do know that the O'Meara's themselves claim to be of Dalcassian stock from the likes of the O'Briens. But as I said, Dr. Paul McCarter believes that this is purely to, as they were moved into O'Kennedy territory, it was to sort of like align themselves with the O'Kennedys, and that actually they are a new addition. Supersonic. That's then now I find in Ormond. There's some the O'Meara's, O'Maha's, O'Meara's and O'Maha's, depending on your translation of the name. I'll try and get that done as soon as I can. McDermott's went from Kings of Moylarg to this day prices of Calavin. There you go. McGregor for Tisha. He unites the Isles in the hatred of him recently. The Griffins were mostly from Kerry or Clare. Excuse me. I think we went over the Griffins. There's a Clare branch, and there's obviously, like I said, then there's the Welsh branch of the Griffins who are related to the Tudors. Let's see here. De Porter is an Anglo-Norman name. I'll try and get you the Irish version of it, so you can, if you want to Google it. Griffin. But like I said, Clare's like I said, they're primarily found around Clare. I've seen the name in Galway. Is that a different branch? Are we still about Griffins? But if you look at this map, Keely, very close together. It's rather unlikely that they're different branches. You'll probably find the families moved up, more likely moved up, or another family's translated their name to Griffin as well, and they're two totally unrelated families. But I would say, just from the locale of that, and the fact that Galway became a hub, especially a trading hub, the families are moving up from Clare into those sort of areas. So you'd probably find a big branch in Galway and a big branch in Limerick. There's an exhibit running at St. Louis University regarding McDermott's Roscommon archaeology of Lough Key. Is there? Very good. If there's any lectures or anything, I wonder if they'll be online. That'd be very interesting. The Scots should have gone back. Yeah, I agree. No, don't dump him on them, poor Scots. Right, so it's coming up to midnight. Comments you donated again. Thank you very much. Live through ads. Thank you very much for the gifts. Andrew, thank you very much for the first time gift. I really appreciate that. So I'll try and get my family have roots in Staffordshire. I believe I mentioned this. Yes, you did. I lived not far from Staffordshire for a wee while. Came from Montgomeryshire. They were non-conformist Griffiths. So Griffiths are quite common on the Welsh sort of borders and Wales. And like I said, I think most of them claim descent from. There's two lines, I believe, in Wales, but one of them's from the Alp Tudors. And I don't know where the other one comes from, unfortunately. Plenty of there is. I spend a lot of time on YouTube, actually, to be fair. Let's see. So, let's see if there's a name I haven't covered before. In in one of my previous lives, because I want to try and make sure I don't always say this. I know that a lot of the names are the biggest names, and the O'Neills and McCarthys, and some of the smaller ones don't get mentioned very often. But before I go, I'll do one more name. I've got it already, which I'll do here in a second. But if any of yous are, the next live will be the members only live on Monday, St. Patrick's Day, 17th, 10 p.m, 12 p.m, Dublin time. Like I said, it's members only. Where we'll be discussing St. Patrick and the families associated with his times in Ireland, whether it was the family that kidnapped him, the family that had him as a slave, as a shepherd, or the families he converted. So if you wish to attend that live on Monday the 17th, 10 p.m. Dublin time, it's members and subscriptions only. But if you're not, if you can't attend it, I will see you all on next Tuesday, same time. So I'm going to do the I saw the Shanahan. So the Shanahans are from the Ebloid, who are a king group in Clare related to the O'Briens. Through the O'Briens, where Father McKennatig was from the Ebloid or Eblood king group. So yeah, there you go. Shanahans are from Clare. So I will see you all for another live, either on Tuesday, or the members, I will see you on Monday. Right, Slán. And YouTube, let me get you. I'll give you a couple. Tudor Gaelic origins, I believe. Are they? I did not know that. Have a great Paddy's Day. Thank you, Wayne. I hope you do too. I believe yours is a day after us, so don't drink too much. It's like you're asking a duck not to swim. When looking through records and things, how do you figure out what is trash and what is a good source? Unfortunately, that comes with a bit of experience. But I think anything that comes with is peer reviewed. So try and look for things that have either sourced to a peer reviewed source, like Academia. Is a great site to look at for any source material. Celt.ucc.com is a great place for free academic sources and sources from the time period as well. But it's a bit of a nightmare to sort of sift through, but it's still a good read. What part of Staffordshire did you visit? No, it was next to Staffordshire. It was in Shropshire. I lived in right next to Staffordshire in Market Drayton when I was in the army. We did it for a while. So thank you very much, John. Thank you. And I will see you all again soon. So, bye.